My farming game Gelli World is already almost 3 months into development, and I've received a few comments from you guys saying that it isn't standing out that much compared to other farming games, so today we're gonna change that. I've planned out a lot of stuff for this game, but one of the things that I didn't plan out was how you would earn a lot of your money and how you would sell items. So before this update, I had a sell box where you just essentially just walk up to it and then you could just sell items to it. And I thought that was a little bit boring and I wanted to spice it up a little. So we're changing it so that in this game, you're going to have a item stand. You could place items in your stand and customers will come up and they'll buy it. And depending on the kind of things that you do to your farm, you'll attract different customers. And also, your jellies will now produce jam as well as the gleams. And jam is one of the biggest things that you'll be selling and what the customers will be wanting from you. Now, if you aren't understanding, I know this is a lot of talking, and the best way for you to understand is to just show you. Before we start making a shop, we need one of the main items that you'll be selling in your shop. And that item is jam. Now, a lot of you have asked if jellies taste good, and I can confirm they do not taste good. They're not actually made out of jelly, but since this is sort of a spin-off and a side game, I was thinking maybe if jellies are very happy, they will produce jam. And maybe jam is something that everyone from around the world loves. So one of the main things that you'll be selling is this jam. And one of the cool things about jam is that each jelly has their own kind of jam. After finishing the jelly jam, I started working on all the other types of jam, which are the bonbon, the leaflet, and the avelia. Now that we have the sprites drawn, we have to make items for all the different types of jam. And boom, now we have jelly jam in the game. Next step is assigning the jam to each of the jellies so they know which jam to produce. And now when I feed this jelly, you can see that some jam pops out as well as a gleam. So the gleam is the little orb that comes out of a jelly when you feed it, and it basically is some instant money. And it gives you money based on the price of the crop that you fed the jelly. In order to have a shop, we need to have somewhere to put down our items for our customers to buy them. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the sell box that I was previously using and just delete it completely. And make a new object that'll serve as our shop stand. Next, I'll add some components and other bits and bobs to it. And for the time being, we're just going to have our shop items sit on this table. It'll be changed in the future. You'll just have to bear with that for a little bit. The next step is to actually make a script that'll allow me to place down items. When I came up with the idea for the stands, I was actually taking a shower, and a lot of the ideas that I come up with just sort of appear when I'm in the shower. Is there a certain place or a time that you guys have where ideas just come to you, or is that just me? Now I should be able to just walk up to the stand and place down an item, and I should be able to remove it. Well, okay, now you can remove items, but it's still a little buggy. Okay, now I can remove items and it finally works. This took way longer than you would think. Right now we don't have much of a shop, and that's because we don't have any customers. So now we're gonna get started on the first customer in the game, the farmer. People are one of the things artistically that I struggle with. So I did have a little bit of a hard time drawing this farmer. The animations weren't that hard because they're basically just reskins of the player. There is, however, a new animation, and it is of them thinking, because before they buy a product, they will actually think about it. So here's the farmer. I think it actually turned out pretty good, and I really like the hat. I think I did a pretty good job on the hat. You'll have to let me know what you guys think about it. Now that our first customer is finished, we gotta get this farmer into the game. Now that we have our farmer, we have to bring him to life. First, I added all the fancy bits and bobs to him, and then I started working on the script that'll basically control how he thinks. And now we have a farmer who's just kind of standing in the ground. Yup. It isn't a complete failure though. This is good because this is showing that the customer spawning is actually working, so the script actually just spawned this customer and is going to continue to spawn customers, even though they're in the ground a little bit. Next on the list was to make some awesome animations for our farmer. Now after some time passes, a customer will appear and he'll just kind of be running in place. Now our customer appears and is actually moving. This is such a large milestone because now to just see him moving and actually being a real thing, it makes me so happy. It makes me so excited. Also, he's just gonna keep walking forever. He's gonna go through the wall. He has gone through the wall. He has transcended beyond reality. All of the customers in the game will have a favorite item type that they like, and if they see that item type in your stand, they will immediately go for that over the other items. And let me just say, making this was a little bit annoying. It took a lot of time and a lot of me being mad. Here we have two stands, and the customer should pick between the two, or just completely ignore both. Now the customer should see his favorite item type, which is jam, get excited, walk over to the stand, and buy it. It works, but it's just infinitely selling them, so we probably need to fix that. We're making some awesome progress. Now the farmer will come up, think about the item, purchase the item, and walk away. When the customer walks away though, I want them to actually be carrying the item on their head, kind of like the player does. I think it's a really cute touch, and I think it'll look really good. I think one of my favorite things about being a game developer is just having a vision or an idea and being able to turn that idea into a reality and have it actually be made out in front of you. The process is just super rewarding. Now the customer will walk up to the stand, buy the item, and actually walk away carrying it on their head. Next, I want to make it so that the customers can only buy a specific amount of the item instead of just buying all of them. Now the customer will walk up to the stand, think about purchasing the item, and then we'll buy some of them. And each customer type has a maximum amount of items they can buy. Next, I made it so if a customer stops at a spot that has no item, they'll think about it for a little bit and then turn around and go back home. Now that we have all of these systems in place and working, I wanted to make the customers and jellies more expressive, and I wanted to do that by adding emotes to the game. So essentially emotes will just be an icon that will pop up over the top of customers' heads or a jelly or anything in the game, and it'll display an emotion. I think you guys understand what an emote is. This is one of those things where it's like, it definitely doesn't need to be in the game, but the game is just enhanced so much more by having it in the game. Now when a customer goes to purchase an item, an emote will pop up over their head to show a little bit about what they're thinking of. Okay, now that we had a little bit more fun and we added emotes in, what we're going to do now is allow you to sell your jellies. So selling a jelly will be a little bit different, because if you leave a jelly there overnight, if it was from the wild, it will return back to the wild. But if it was from your farm, it'll return back to your farm. It'd be a little cruel to leave them just sitting there all night long, wouldn't it? Alright, I'm going to pick up this jelly, put it in the stand, and it's stuck to me. Okay, now I can place down the jelly and it actually works, but I can actually pick it up still, and it still counts as being in the spot, so that's a bug, so I definitely need to fix that still. Alright, let's fix that. And while we're at it, let's make it so the customer can actually buy the jelly. And now the customer can walk up to the jelly, purchase it. Oh no. Now you can sell your jellies to your heart's content. And don't worry, they're going to a good home. If you've seen in this footage that I've made a lot of changes since the last clip and this current clip, and that's because I just went through and did a lot of polishing stuff. I made a pop-up in the top right that appears to show when you've got new money. I changed the gravity and the friction of the player because a lot of you guys said that the movement looked a little weird, so I made that a little bit better. And I also started working on my sprinting system, which will be a really awesome thing in the future. And the game just feels so much nicer now. The shop stands make the game feel really unique, and they also add so much more depth to the game. I'm so glad that I added them and that I thought of that. And I want to thank you guys for telling me that my game wasn't exactly too unique, because if you had never said that, I would have never even thought about adding this or making this change to the game. I'd also like to thank you guys for how many subs I've been getting lately. You guys are crazy. I'm getting subs left and right and a ton of views, and the channel is growing, and it's so exciting. I did say last time I'd work on the player housing and the shop, and then I totally just did this instead. But I think next video, I'll work on the player housing and the shop. But that's going to be it for this video. As always, I'll see you in the next devlog.